Welcome to Terror in Tandem, a podcast.
You got to start over. I just took a sip of tea right when you were doing that, so you can keep that for the deep cuts.
Welcome to Terror.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said welcome to sip of tea.
Welcome to Terror in Tandem, a podcast about finding entertainment in the macabre, hosted by the knowledgeable and lovable Laura and Richard Mathiasen. Each episode, we discuss the horror genre, from books to film to TV and beyond. Sometimes, even from the beyond. You can find us online at terrorintandem.com and on Instagram at terrorintandem.
Hi.
That went perfectly the first time.
As it always does.
As it always does.
Just thinking about heading into the springtime.
Oh.
New beginnings.
You wouldn't know it today. It is.
It's freezing. Yeah.
Fucking
it's
cold.
It's freezing here.
Yes.
And everywhere.
In our northeastern.
even in California.
In our coastal elite northeast property of luxury means.
Wow. Well said.
Thank you.
You're so articulate.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Is that from The Simpsons?
It is.
But, it got me thinking about all the great horror that can come out.
And blossom?
In a new season.
Blood blossoms.
And so, as we start to leave the frigid winter.
Oh, God.
And
thank
enter
goodness.
into the promise of spring.
Yeah.
Just the promise. Not quite the actual spring.
Yeah.
But the promise of spring. We have just a couple
the
recommendations
of
just a couple of recommendations for your March enjoyment.
March is it's a weird month because you want it to be spring. It technically, I think, does start spring, but it's always cold, at least where we are, and it snows and it's cold. And
welcome to our new podcast, Weather in Tandem. Brought to you by meteorologists.
My knees is swollen.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
My trick knee.
I know. I'm just sitting around the pickle barrel whinging about the fucking weather.
Why don't we get into what people are really wanting to listen to?
Oh.
For our listener.
I'm excited about March. There's some really cool things coming out across mediums to keep everybody interested. So, we can talk about them if you want to. I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know why you're delaying. This is taking forever.
I mean, if you could see me, I'm pointing all of my digits.
In this visual medium we're recording. So
Please.
Anyway, it's the month of March. Hello, and there's things to do. Do you want me to get started?
Yes, that's what the pointing is for. Oh my God. Everybody knows that it's March now.
All right. Chronologically, the first thing
as the annoyance comes marching in.
Goodness. First thing on my list is a movie.
It's Lent.
Oh, yeah, right. It's a movie. It is coming out March 10th in theaters, on March 14th, video on demand, and it is Unwelcome, an Irish horror movie by director John Wright. Now, Unwelcome is starring Hannah John Kamen, who you might know as Ghost from the MCU. She was in Ant-Man 2. And Douglas Booth. They play a couple that moves to a small Irish village, formerly from London. They move after Hannah John Kamen's character Maya gets pregnant, and they get mugged.
Oh,
so
yikes.
they decide city life is no longer for them. They're going to move to the country in rural Ireland.
So much Batman parents.
Well, they hire some locals to help fix up this cottage that they move into. And one of those is Colm Meaney, who fans of everything will know. He's in everything, but he was Miles O'Brien from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Next Generation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. So anyway, once they move in, they're told by the locals that one of their responsibilities in this cottage is to leave blood offerings in the backyard for the Red Caps, or the little folk, the fey folk of the forest. So obviously these city folk don't really take it seriously. And you know what? Would you? You know, if you moved into a place and your weird neighbors were like, oh, you got to leave stuff in the backyard for the little people. Be like,
maybe.
Cool. But anyway, so, you know, they fuck it up. And
I guess it depends on how, you know, I feel about the locals. Do I feel like they're just giving me an old rib job? Or do I feel like they're
I feel like if you're giving out rib jobs, then you have to...
You know, a ribbing. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not an Urban Dictionary
Welcome to the neighborhood
situation that you need to look up. But if the townspeople were convincing enough, you know, if they were convincing and just acting like serious about it, I might believe them. But if they were, you know, just being silly, having a laugh at me, I probably wouldn't take it seriously. But, you know, I'm a little superstitious. So
well, yeah, you know,
I might be like,
safe,
yeah.
right?
And also, does this town have internet? Why can't they just look up the information?
Well, so, you know, the movie's longer than 15 minutes. So they do fuck it up. And
You asked.
Apparently,
You asked.
apparently, you know, the little folk come looking for retribution. Now, the director has described this as Straw Dogs meets Gremlins, which is quite a description. Yeah. So apparently this is kind of a mishmash of genres. There's the locals are, some of them are, I'm guessing from the Straw Dogs description, problematic and violent. And also there's the supernatural element of the Redcaps, the little folk of the forest. So from the trailer, you know, it looks suitably creepy. You know, a nice mix of Irish mythology, shot on locations, very, very pretty, pastoral. And I do love a story that mashes up old world sensibilities with sort of modern hubris.
You're just mashing it. Just for those of you who heard me say that's yikers, that means that's like really woof.
Yeah. Cool. So, you know, Unwelcome coming out March 10th. I don't know. I think it's got all the elements there. It's got a great cast. It looks pretty cool. The trailer has me hooked. And, you know, I like I said, I do. We'll see. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah, get out your pint and enjoy this a bit of an Irish horror, as you were.
Yeah, actually, I should mention, speaking of Irish horror, one of this director's previous movies was Grabbers, which was a very underrated and really funny horror comedy that came out like maybe 7-8 years ago.
I feel like that's just like people riding the subway.
No, for sure,
know?
but it's
watch out for those grabbers.
It's that movie about the aliens that invade, and the locals discover that the only way to fight them is if you're drunk.
Oh,
so
thanks.
they, you know, basically get pissed and fight aliens.
I just want to throw out that the Banshees of Inisherin was amazing.
Oh yeah, as long as we're on the Emerald Isle,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That was
off the
Martin
coast of
McDonagh's
Emerald Isle.
Yeah. Well, what do you got going on, co-host?
Well, I'll go with a movie first.
Okay.
Obviously, it's an obvious choice for March, coming out March 10th. Also,
Okay.
It's got to compete with your movie.
I'm sure that whatever it is, it's not going to beat the Irish indie film Unwelcome.
Yeah, this definitely won't. This is just like a small, you know, like cobbled together budget called Scream 6.
Oh, shnikes. I've heard of that.
Comes out March 10th. Bringing back Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, and also coming back,
Kirby.
way back. Yeah, Kirby.
Kirby's back.
And Courtney Cox. Gail Weathers is coming back. She weathers that storm.
Listen, Kirby
Scream.
was, for me, the highlight of Scream 4. Hayden Panettiere crushed that role.
Oh, she was hilarious. And I'm looking forward to her sassy attitude.
Really glad to see that.
Also coming into this one is Samara Weaving.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. What a cast.
I know.
And Jenna Ortega continues her reign of dominance. Just
she's really
crushing
great.
it. Yeah.
Actually, Melissa Barrera is in this, what looks to be an incredible interpretation of the opera Carmen.
Oh, yeah?
You should definitely watch the trailer.
Okay.
It looks really great.
Wow.
Not horror.
Yeah, no.
But it looks like a combination of like a
Carmen?
musical and non-musical.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Scream 6. The story follows the 4 survivors from Woodsboro from the last chapter of the film. Sam, played by Melissa Barrera, and her sister Tara, played by Jenna Ortega, along with Jasmine and Mason. They try to get a new start in New York City, but obviously Ghostface.
It's quite a location change.
And it's really exciting because most of the Scream films, all of the Scream films, have taken place in Woodsboro or in a similar type of town.
Yeah,
when
like
Sydney went to college.
Yeah, but you're right. It's like a contained location.
Yeah.
Manhattan is a big playground.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very exciting.
What was that show? Was it The Office, where it was like Sydney just tries to get a new life in college?
Yeah, it was on The Office. Yeah.
I just want her to do okay. So in
speaking of the Sydney in the room, she is Nev Campbell not in this one.
Yeah, because they would not agree to pay her as they should have.
Yeah.
But it's okay. This can take a different direction.
And Miss Campbell's doing pretty well.
Yeah,
she's having a real career revival these days.
I think she's had a steady career, actually.
I just mean, actors they continue working, but then they sort of like have this cyclical entering and reemerging in the public consciousness. She just seems like Nev Campbell's back these days,
Yeah. So is Ghostface, apparently. So the 2022 version, the Scream, the franchise was revitalized, and this is a direct sequel. So to that, although it's a continuation of all the Scream movies, this is a response to the success of Scream 5.
Yeah, it seemed like 5 started a new arc of the Scream mythology. Yeah, like sometimes franchises, they go on long enough, there are sort of self-contained arcs within the larger franchise, and 5 started its own new thing, like Scream, the college years, the next generation.
Yeah, and also I think there's a different tone with these new Scream films.
Yeah, for sure.
Very kind of what I was missing in all of the Scream movies until Scream 5, which is going for it.
Yes.
If this person is really killing, it can't just be secret high schoolers.
No, I agree.
They have to be really, evil. It has to be much darker and go all the way. These go all the way.
All credit to Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson for starting it, but Radio Silence, the collective that directed the 5th one and the 6th one, they have built on it in just the best way possible. You really, something as beloved as the Scream franchise, you really hope that whoever is the steward for it treats it as well as Radio Silence has. I mean, it's better than it ever has been.
And although Hayden Panettiere is coming back, and so is Courtney Cox, I do think that there was a bit of a split off from Scream 5 from the old into the new.
A passing of the torch.
Yeah,
and that's smart. This is a franchise that's been going on for like 25 years or something. My God.
And I have to say that the Scream 5 was very scary.
It was, in my opinion, the scariest one yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I'm really looking forward to this.
Samesies. We might watch
March
this
10th.
one together.
Oh, well, I'm busy watching some Irish horror on March 10th, but maybe March 11th.
I heard
we can
this
hang out.
Knowledgeable and lovable guy recommended it.
Oh, well, I only know of a knowledgeable guy.
Yeah.
Let's take a commercial.
I think that's a great idea. Gotta keep the lights on.
And we're back.
Oh, gosh.
And the lights are still on.
They
Thank you,
Thank
listener,
you and all of your monies.
for buying that
Why we do
new
this.
device.
The only reason. So my next thing, hello. Once you're done watching these movies, why don't you slow things down a little bit, everybody, with a nice book.
Okay.
I got a book for you. It's coming out March 21st, and it is Victor Laval's new novel, Lone Women, brought to you by Random House.
The Changeling author.
Yes, The Ballad of Black Tom, another one. So Victor Laval is he's a real rising star in the horror genre, especially. Found a lot of acclaim with The Ballad of Black Tom, which was a retelling of the horror of Red Hook, one of H.P. Lovecraft's more egregiously racist stories. Just as an aside, I have a connection to Red Hook. It's a neighborhood in Brooklyn where my grandfather was a high school chemistry teacher and principal for
There's also
many,
a
many
town
years.
of Red Hook in New York in Westchester County.
Yes, but this one is specifically the one in Brooklyn because that is where H.P. Lovecraft used to live.
Oh, in Brooklyn?
Yep, and it's where my grandpa used to be a high school principal.
Are you saying that your grandfather's H.P. Lovecraft?
It is. I am not saying that.
Oh.
No, my grandpa was not a
But are you
weird
not saying
racist.
that also?
No, he was a
Okay.
cool guy who was cool with all peoples.
Even H.P. Lovecraft?
My gosh. So, just real quickly about The Ballad of Black Tom, it's part of this sort of, I know I've mentioned this before, this wave of reclaiming Lovecraft's work. In the original story, The Horror of Red Hook, he depicted Yazidi immigrants as devil-worshipping cultists, just because they weren't Christian and they were weird to him. So that just meant devil. So Victor Laval has been part of this new wave of horror of taking the best of Lovecraft and reframing or reclaiming it away from his prejudices. And I'm all for it. So anyway, he's also a really great comic writer. He did Destroyer. He did a really good run on Sabretooth as well. So the synopsis of this is, I'm just going to read it real quick. Adelaide Henry carries an enormous steamer trunk with her wherever she goes. It's locked at all times because when the trunk opens, people around Adelaide start to disappear. The year is 1915 and Adelaide is in trouble. Her secret sin killed her parents, forcing her to flee California in a hellish rush and make her way to Montana as a homesteader. Dragging the trunk with her at every stop, she will become one of the lone women, taking advantage of the government's offer of free land for those who can tame it. Except that Adelaide isn't alone. And the secret she's tried so desperately to lock away might be the only thing that will help her survive the harsh territory. So yeah, it's another, fantastic realism mix of a real time in America's history, of the homesteader rush of the early 20th century. And, Victor Laval's a very talented writer, really has that Lovecraftian knack of instilling dread in his words, which is very hard to do effectively. And I'm really looking forward to this one. It's another one on my list, which is now longer than any book I've ever read. My list of books to read, it's like 1,000 pages.
Yeah,
so
there's not enough time.
Lone Women, coming from Victor Laval, March 21st. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm putting this out there for, it to be a recorded record of this. When I am too old to read on my own, I would like someone to read books to me. Okay?
Okay. We're going to talk off mic about audiobooks.
No, I know, but I want some.
You want like a human person to come in and read to you? That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like in, some like old.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
I used to do that in like old folks' homes when I was a kid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To read me
keep people company.
Books that I've never gotten to.
You got it. So like 2 or 3 years from now, we'll get you somebody.
Rude.
So what's your next?
I guess I have to go with a book because we're on a book
Ooh.
situation. So the book that I'm going to recommend is A House with Good Bones by Ursula Vernon, otherwise known as T. Kingfisher.
Nice.
who wrote What Moves the Dead.
Is she writing under Ursula Vernon or is T. Kingfisher?
It says Ursula Vernon on all the things I saw.
Okay.
It comes out March 28th, right at the end of the month. So this time the author goes Southern Gothic in this new horror novel.
Nice.
And it's also slated to be a pretty funny take, but
Really?
also super gruesome.
You know, I've not read any Ursula Vernon titles. I've only read under her moniker T. Kingfisher. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the difference is.
Well, this is just a brief synopsis is an archaeoentomologist named Sam gets sort of her work put on hold for a while. So she goes to her dead grandmother's home in North Carolina to spend time with her mother. And as soon as she arrives, there is a foreboding vulture waiting on the mailbox. And she finds that her mom is acting very strange and doesn't understand quite why. But when she begins to dig into her family history and like in things throughout the house, she finds terrible things that are only meant to destroy her.
Yikes. I mean, vulture on the mailbox right as you're pulling up, that's never something you want to see.
No.
I'd rather get a nice, friendly rib job.
I did. There was somebody I follow on Instagram. They live in a neighborhood where they keep driving by this house and there are vultures all over the house and all over the lawn.
Holy shit.
So the person did a wellness check. They were like really concerned that there was a dead body inside. So they did a wellness check and I guess it happens all the time around that time of year, every year. And it's a known thing.
Around this one house.
Wow. And
It's
they've heard from other people as well.
It's built on the carcass of a dead god.
Yeah, they've heard from other people as well, like doing a wellness check, and they're like, yeah, we know on this road. Yep. Okay.
Hey, I was just playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and I noticed there were vultures over your house. That's crazy.
I guess it is under T. Kingfisher.
Oh, okay.
You know, it really depends on like how you Google it.
Because
when you Google it, it does say a book by Ursula Vernon, and then but on Amazon and on the book cover it says T. Kingfisher. So
okay, yeah.
You know, I think she really needs to make a decision on how she wants to appear in search engines.
I've always heard it's not the size that matters; it's how you Google it.
I heard it's not the Fisher that matter; it's the T. King that does.
Exactly. Well, that's certainly something to look forward to.
Sorry, everyone. We're really off the rockers today.
I don't know what this wee shit is.
Yeah.
I'm crushing it. I'm going to go
with
next.
Your last one?
Yeah, this is my last one. Now, listen, folks, you've watched a couple movies. You've read a few books. Let's do something different and play some video games.
Oh, okay.
How about Resident Evil 4? The remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, coming out March 24th. Now, for all of you having a reflective remake reaction, hold on a second, because the original came out 17 years ago on the PlayStation 2. So let's all just relax. It's ripe for a remake, and I'm excited about this one. Resident Evil 4 is largely considered one of the best of the series, if not the best of the series. It was a super classic when it came out. And the recent remakes that they did of Resident Evil 2 and 3, especially 2, were really fantastic. So I'm excited for Capcom to revisit their most famous and perhaps beloved entry. So Resident Evil 4, the plot of it is a Resident Evil plot. It's barely makes any sense.
You gotta just run and shoot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is this game changed the style of the previous 3 into a more action-oriented, shooting type. But, we see series regular Leon Kennedy. He leaves Raccoon City. It's a different location in this weird village. He's fighting these monsters called Ganados and, headshots and inventory management and creepy cutscenes. It's really, I know I'm being a little silly about it. It's just Resident Evil is pretty famous for having these kind of wild, convoluted plots, and describing them doesn't do it any justice. It's an amazing game, and from all of the previews coming out, it seems like the changes made are really updating the quality of life, kind of gameplay tweaks that we've gotten used to in modern times, the last 20 years, redoing the graphics for the current generation. And they are updating the story. It is, according to the creators, it's a reimagining of the original story. So I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, the last couple of games that Capcom has remade have worked out really, really well. I'm excited about this. We've had a lot of good horror remakes the last few years. Dead Space just came out. Demon Souls came out a couple years ago. There's a remake of Silent Hill 2 in the works. So yeah, March 24th, PS4, PS5, all the Xboxes, PC, Resident Evil 4 remake, master make, boot.
Well articulated. So my last is now that you have watched the movies and read the books and maybe played some videos.
Like a grown-up.
Maybe you just want a nice old TV show.
Oh.
So this is
Us?
coming out in very end of March. The super end, the last day, March 31st. The Power, a new TV series coming out on Hulu. Now, this is based on a book by Naomi Alderman, a book of the same name. She wrote this book back in 2017. She's a UK writer, and her fourth novel was The Power, and it's dedicated to and influenced by Margaret Atwood.
Ooh.
The novel,
light, happy stuff.
yeah, the novel won the Women's Prize for Fiction, and the book, as I said, was influenced when Alderman participated in the Rolex mentorship program with Margaret Atwood as her mentor.
Oh, wow.
Coupled with her experience growing up when she, quote, said, "I've been to an Orthodox Jewish primary school where every morning the boys said, 'Thank you, God, for not making me a woman.'"
Oh.
So this
Fun.
is a British-based series.
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful tradition.
The British-based series, and it's produced by the same company who produced Broadchurch.
Nice.
So, I'm somewhat excited. The trailer doesn't have me as excited as if I just read about it. But it's starring Toni Collette.
Queen.
Exciting.
Yep.
John Leguizamo.
Awesome.
Alui Carvalho. She's Hawaiian actress who voiced and sung Moana.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And Tohib Jimo from Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The young soccer player. Yeah. Who, spoiler, has the love affair. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What's his name? Oh, I gotta look it up.
I don't remember
Keep
his
going.
name. Yeah. So just a brief synopsis. In a matriarchal society, a manuscript of an imagined history of the tumultuous era during which women across the world develop and share the power to emit electricity from their hands.
Sam.
This manuscript is submitted by Neil Adam Arman to another author named Naomi, approximately 5,000 years after the power emerges and revolution resembles the world into a matriarchy. The historical fiction chronicles the experiences of the women who hold that power. So that's the synopsis of the book. I'm assuming that the synopsis of the show takes on a little bit of a slower version of this, tracing the experiences of those women who have that power.
Yeah.
And some violence and, using the power for vengeance.
Listen,
happens.
I
honestly, when I read this book in 2017, it was definitely one of my favorites of the year. It
I
was
remember.
also Barack Obama's favorite of the year, one of his favorites of the year. It's a really great, well-written book. If anything, if this series prompts you to want to read the book, go for it. But, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. It seems like the cast is pretty interesting. Some new young actors coming on the scene. And, like I said, produced by the same people that did Broadchurch. So I hope it has that similar.
And that show was dark as hell.
Yeah, dark and like under the skin vibe.
And also throughout history, what frightens men more than expressions of female rage? And this is a literal superpower, given to women in their teen years.
When you're influenced by an author like Margaret Atwood, it's definitely going to be.
It's just
a
fascinating,
a dark reflection on reality, though.
It's a fascinating hook. It's really makes you think. You want to take it to its logical conclusion of what if this really did happen? How would the current world react? And, probably not well.
Right.
Well, that sounds really exciting. Looking forward to that one.
Do you have anything else? Or we?
No, I am. That's it for March. I mean, we've got movies, books, TV, video games. Shit. Why go outside? I mean, you could take the book outside.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the question. As the weather gets nicer, we're still going to have recommendations, but.
Yeah, we'll try to get some nice book recommendations for warmer weather, but March is still pretty freaking miserable usually. So watch movies and play video games. Stay inside. With the gremlins.
Or go to a movie.
Or
with
Bad
your
Ronald.
friends.
Yeah, you could do that too. You could go to AMC and pay extra money to sit in a seat that you can see the screen from.
We might want them as a sponsor.
Well, have a great March, everybody.
Bye.
Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our theme was written and performed by Carrie Denver, and all other music was written and performed by David Suspanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. We're standing right behind you.